Hi again, Danielle. So this is the third and final video. This is the heart. And also, I guess like a little bit of a closing of my ethnobiography. So it was one night about, I don't know, not even night, early morning about 4 a.m. and I was watching all these different videos and all of these different messages were coming to me through the music that I was hearing, the people that may have been speaking in the videos, and it led to some really wonderful 4 a.m. writing. This project for me helped me to connect with my ritual and practice, the things that I do every day, from how I put my jewelry on, how I put my scarves on, my clothes on, how I moisturize, how I carry the same crystals in my wallet, all of it, how I, dry brush my skin, like how that ritual and practice, like where it actually comes from. And then I think about the first time that I was kind of introduced to ceremony, the first time I was introduced to practice, to ritual, was through going to church with my mother. And, I was never asked. You went to church because that's what your mother did. That's what her mother did or her aunt did, and that's what her aunt's mother did. I gave a little backstory in my paper about, my mother's upbringings, and it was relevant because it's definitely cultural. It's like you see a system of how things have worked through the generations, and the good things especially you keep. And sometimes it might be wrapped in just the routine of it, but it's what you know. And it's a legacy. Moreover, my mother going to church is a legacy that she wanted to pass on to her children. And I didn't look at it as that. I looked at it as something that was being forced upon me that I did not want to do, that was hypocritical, and that was not a place that represented me. Why are there pictures of this white Jesus, but in the Bible they talk about his skin being bronze and his hair being woolly? Like, where is that picture? And why are all the people in this Bible white? And Israel, we weren't, what? Huh? All of that. And I mean, around 9 years old, I was questioning all of these things. And I found myself being completely disenchanted from like the church sermons and trying to figure out ways to either take a long bathroom break or just not go to church altogether. I would just fake sick, anything. And my mother's whole thing was like, well, Jesus will heal it. Come on, you're going to church. And, I think I resented that. So when I got to a certain age, I got to about 15, I emancipated myself from church because I had an experience some years before where I witnessed a man be turned away when he was asking to work for his family's breakfast. He was turned away because he wasn't dressed appropriately. And that kind of killed any light that was like at the end of that tunnel. It was like, what? Isn't church supposed to be for the community? Like, isn't this the one place that you can come to and find comfort and find refuge? Like, what's going on here? It was seeing how status still existed in a place that was supposed to be, I thought, about the heart, about spirit. And also the notion that heaven is something that you have to die to get to, or that hell is something you have to die to get to. I believe that we have the ability to create those places, and we do create those places for us in our here and now and our future presence. So it's so many things tied around that, and then this new concept that I kind of became more aligned with as far as the foundations of slavery and how that influences the way in which people of color express spirituality, go to church, worship, and having a problem with that and wanting to connect more with who I was indigenously and the practices that we practice and what we do, and not just Africa, but South America, the Caribbean, Latin America, Asia, like all of those places, because I feel pieces of myself in all of those rituals and practices. So, think about, I love burning incense and charcoal and resins and, working with herbs and healing crystals and understanding and wanting to continue to connect more with the magic that lives inside of nature, waterfalls, mountains, sunsets, red clay ground. So, although my connection, my concept, my feeling is something completely different than my mother's, I can still appreciate the spiritual and practice that evolved from that experience, because I love music. And church was where I got to hear live music, instrumentation like pianos and flutes and drums, and to feel what it felt like to hear a drum and feel that in your body, And it's like then to be able to identify those same sounds that you hear as a child in, a classic rock song that you like, or in a reggae tune, or, electronica track, or whatever. So that's what my paper is about, like how, it began at this place of this spiritual indoctrination that you weren't even asked if you wanted to, participate in, to, my own rituals and practice, and how that all is connected. The passion, the way in which we celebrate, all of those things are rooted in those first experiences. So it took me from a place of being resentful and being angry and all of that, to being appreciative, being grateful, and being able to see oh, okay. And long story short, and Dave Chappelle said, when someone says long story short, you're in trouble. But I'm going to make it short. My mother became a deacon. She was studying to become a deacon, and she was ordained. And I went to her ordination. I think that was December 3rd. And it was really interesting because I hadn't been inside of a church in I don't know how long. And Thanksgiving, I remember I dropped my daughter off to her papa. And then I was parked over, when I got off the train, I was parked over near my mother's church. And I called to see if they needed any help with cleanup, because I knew that they had made meals for the community for that day. And she told me no, but she said, well, you should just come by. And I went by. And it was also an opportunity for me to see the community that my mother was immersed in, independent of how I know her, and how people spoke of her. And she just seemed like she was, she just was really supported. It was just a really safe, good place where people are doing their best to do good. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And, and this is a church that I grew up in, so a lot of the people remember me from when I was a child and know my daughter. And so it was very interesting, full circle. And I could tell my mother was proud to have me there, really happy that I came. So then a couple of weeks later, her ordination, I'm sitting there at the ordination and I'm writing feverishly in this blue journal book that I have, and it's all about this ethnobiography. I begin to connect the dots. It's like even listening to the preacher speak, and he referred to deacons as servants, and realizing that how much of it is connected to slavery, how much it's connected to a time that we definitely don't need to be celebrating. But then also understanding how it is yet another example of us taking something, being resourceful, and making it into something good for us. Even though I'm handed this ugly, smelly, stinky thing, I'm going to strip away all of this dead, corroded skin. I'm going to season it up with some spices and salt. And the next thing you know, we got some chitlins and some collard greens. Or just and that's what it's about. But like I said, I'm able to take away like the beauty that was extracted from the experience rather than continue to hold space for the resentment and the anger. So I thank you for taking the time, giving me the time to be able to have a smile, yeah, about this, because it was just something like, oh gosh, I know I have to do this. I know I have to do this. And when I just made the decision to just start recording, it just began to flow. So thank you. But I know that you knew that. You knew how, if we allowed it, how life-changing or transformational these assignments can be. They're not, I know they're not all just for the sake of learning language or understanding theory. I understand that a lot of it is to really get to the center and the core of who we are, unearthing some things, contribute to our becoming, and help us through our process as well. So I'm grateful to be on the other side with a smile. Can't stop. So anyway, thank you again for watching, for listening, for feeling, experiencing, and I look forward to hearing what you gained from it, you know. Yeah. All right. Take care. Peace.